Welcome to another edition of Tribulation Ready Survival. I'm Michael, and it is February 2nd, 2022. The temperature is about 10 degrees with about a 40 mile an hour wind, 30 to 40 mile an hour wind. We have 10 to 12 inches of snow on the ground. It's still falling lightly, but we've got drifts here. And I'll just show you. This is next to my house here. I'll show you. Sorry, that's really right in my face. But it's very cold. I would say that with the wind chill, it's probably 0 or a little below. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to collect some snow in this jar right here. We're going to see how much water we can get out of a 1 gallon jar. So 1 gallon, we're going to pack this thing full. And we're going to see how much water we can get out of it. All right, let's give it a shot. I got a snowdrift here. Let's see, I'm going to try and get to the higher point. I'm about to fall over. It's about 2 foot tall. So I'm going to go ahead and set that there. And I'm going to pack this thing full of snow. As much as I can get in it. I'm wearing my waterproof leather gloves today. I'm gonna pack this here. Let me set up the tripod so you can kind of see what we're doing. That'll help. And we'll pack it full of snow. As much as we can get in there, because that's what we want to do. Pack it till we can't pack it no more. Why? Because I want to see how much water I can get out of this whole thing. I'll bet we don't get much. Pack it as much as I can. So, once I get this in here, I ain't packing much more than that. Okay. So, I have a 1 gallon pickle jar, which is empty, and doesn't smell like pickles anymore. We've got that all cleaned out. Full of snow, packed it full of snow. Now, I'm going to take this inside, and I'm going to let it warm up. I'm not going to let it evaporate, so I'm not going to boil it or anything like that, so we can get an accurate amount of water in 1 gallon. So that we can see whether or not if it's a viable source of water. You know, in the winter, obviously, it's pretty much, if it's snowing, it's everywhere, but we want to see how much water we have to, or how much snow, that is, how much snow we have to collect to get a small amount of water. Let's take a look. Okay, welcome back. This is day 2. Sorry for the finger in the camera there. So, we took a 1 gallon pickle jar, packed it as hard as we could all the way to the top, and then I went and put a lid on it and let it melt. I did not heat it. I let it melt naturally down to whatever was going to be left in the jar. And I'll back out just a little bit here, and you'll notice that the jar is about 1/3 water. And so we know that there's not a whole lot of water content in snow now. So what else is in there? Well, there's a lot of things. There's going to be all sorts of gases from the atmosphere. So there's nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, all sorts of monoxides, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, anything that is blowing around in the wind and the air, including dust particles, dirt particles, anything that can be carried by the wind. And that's what we have here, and I'm going to show you a couple of things. So I'm going to move in a little bit closer, and you can see that what we have here is some heavy, this was a very clean jar. I had cleaned it out for this experiment. There was no dirt in here whatsoever. I cleaned it and wiped it. And what we have here now, and I'm going to kind of turn this around a little bit, is we have some heavy particles that have fallen out of the water and settled to the bottom. And so those things are heavy enough, you'd be able to filter those out pretty good, maybe through a water filter if you're going to try and drink this. You could also filter it out through something like a membrane, like a coffee filter or something like that. Those things would come out pretty simple. But this water is not drinkable, not yet. It's going to need to have some processes done before you even think about putting this in your body. And we'll talk about that here in just a second as far as eating the snow. But let's stick back to the contents of what is in the melted snow. So not only do we have this heavy content, or the heavy soil content at the bottom that's fallen out, let's take a look and see what's still left inside that's so small it's still suspended. So hold on one second, I'm going to show you what I've got. So I've got the light kind of where I want it. So the cloudiness, if you look very closely, there are lots of tiny, tiny suspended particles inside this water, and they're slowly floating around, kind of like what you would think of in a fish bowl. These little tiny particles of who knows what. Some of those actually may be organisms that are alive, that are even smaller. There's so many of them, they're so small you can't even see them, that they just kind of make it cloudy. Whatever they are, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that what's in this water is so small that it's not going to fall out. And if you were to sit here and if I were to go outside and eat a handful of snow, that's what you're eating. That's what you're eating. And right now we know how much water there is not in snow. So here's what it boils down to. If you're in a survival situation and you are freezing cold because it's snowy outside and you are dehydrated, putting snow in your mouth, one, you could very well get sick if you get a quantity enough with whatever is in this water. Eventually, it's probably going to make you sick. And two, there's not enough water content in that snow for your body to be able to get the water that it needs. And on top of that, for your body to melt the snow and try to process this water into something that it can use, you're burning more calories to generate the heat. And on top of that, your brain is being fooled to think that you're actually consuming more water than you actually are. So you're fooling yourself. So here's how you ought to think about it. You may have seen on television shows, and if you've had a child, you may understand this. When a woman is in labor, oftentimes they give her ice chips. The reason they give her ice chips, and it's only for a short period of time, is because they do not want to have all that extra water in the body, and they want her to at least feel some sort of satisfaction of having moisture on her mouth and on her tongue without actually really getting her hydrated to the point where it's going to interfere with the childbirth. That's why they give them ice chips, because it satisfies and fools your body and your brain into thinking that it actually is more hydrated than it is. And so, I wouldn't put this in my mouth on purpose, especially in large quantities. So this is what, let's see if we can get this kind of, and you can see it. It's in there. So this is definitely going to need to be filtered. before I even think about putting it in my mouth. And I would probably boil it too. Snow, large quantity, very little water. Yeah, so this is a good lesson, not necessarily a science lesson. Let me rephrase that. So this is not intended to be a video on water purification. This is not intended to be a video on how to process the water. We will be doing that, and I will be doing that here coming up soon. But this is meant to be an informational video on don't be eating the snow thinking that you're going to hydrate yourself, because you're really fooling yourself and you're really making yourself sick. This snow was taken, as you saw in the previous part of the video, it was taken off the top of a snowdrift. And that snowdrift was about 2 feet off of the ground, and snow was falling actively. So, snow, no, it's not a viable water source in small quantities. And it's going to take no matter if you process it in your body or if you process it with fire, it's going to take a lot of energy to produce drinkable water. So I'm going to take the lid off of our melted snow. Turn this around. I'm going to slowly pour it in and see what we get. I may not get all of the sediment from the bottom of the first jar, and that's okay. We'll see if there's anything left in there. But there's definitely, I'm going to stop for a second. There's definitely, if you can see down inside here, definitely some of the large particles being collected in there, not making it through. Don't fill it too fast. Taking a few minutes to get through. Alright, and that's it. And there's still some small particles still on the side of the jar here. Some of the big stuff didn't transfer, which is fine. But we're gonna see what's in the bottom of the coffee filter. Now, if you're eating the snow, again, this is what you're going to be eating. The snow was nice and clean yesterday. It looked white and didn't have any gook sitting on it or anything. It's going to take another few seconds to filter this out. And then what we'll do is we'll take a look at this jar and see what is... Okay, so here we are. This is the empty water filter now, and these large dirt particles and whatever else got trapped in here. So I'm going to take the same flashlight and we're going to look in the bottom of this jar and see what we can see floating around in there and compare the two. Okay, so here we are again. This is after it's been strained through the coffee filter, and you can see that there are still lots of particles, even some heavy ones that are coming through to the bottom, but you can still see that there's so many particles suspended in here. So these would be small things like small organisms, could even be viruses, could be bacteria, could be even some very fine dust particles. But who knows what these are? I'm not sure. I'm not a scientist and I can't find out at this point, but here's the deal. Just running it through a coffee filter is not going to make this snow much better. It's definitely not going to change any taste, but it's not going to make it drinkable yet. You've got to at least boil this before you even think about consuming it. And so, thank you very much for watching this video on what is in the snow, and thank you for spending some time with us today here on Tribulation Ready Survival, and we're going to continue shooting more videos as soon as we possibly can, and this was one I had to wait for the weather to get right, and so I've got some more videos in the works, and please leave me a comment, whether it be on social media, on our Getter account, or whether it's Facebook, or even in the comments below. If you have ideas that you want us to try to pursue and work on, please give us some ideas. It's not that we don't have ideas, but we want to make content that is interesting to you and possibly to other viewers, and maybe come up to a conclusion of something better than what we already know. We are learning alongside you. So, with that being said, thank you, and we'll see you on another episode.